Ashhadu an la ilaha illallahu wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasul. I bear witness that there is no God except Allah, and that Muhammad is the last and final messenger. My short contribution to our family day. Following our successful international convention commemorating the centenary of the Working Muslim Mission and its founder Khwaja Kamaluddin, I was moved to know of the many converts to Islam. I had the opportunity to visit the Brookwood Cemetery and see the many graves of Lord Headley, Marmaduke Pickthall, Lady Buchanan Hamilton, Maulana Tufail, Dr. Lackner, Dr. Abdullah, and several others. Islam today has a poor image in the media, to the extent that to identify yourself as a Muslim is taboo. I was deeply moved at the convention to know the sacrifices that members of our Jamaat made for the sake of religion. I hope that we can follow in their footsteps one day. I was keen to know about what early converts had to say about why they chose Islam, what attracted them to proclaim that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is the messenger of Allah. So I started to read a book entitled Islam Our Choice. I had a look at YouTube and read other literature. Since the convention was held in the H.G. Wells Hall, I thought it fit to read to see about what he said about Islam. From the book, The Outline of History, London 1920, H.G. Wells said, "From a new angle, and with fresh vigour, the Arab mind took up the systematic development of positive knowledge which the Greeks had begun and relinquished. If the Greek was the father, then the Arab was the foster father of scientific method of the dealing with the reality, that is to say, by the absolute frankness, the utmost simplicity of statement and explanation, exact record and exhaustive criticism. Through the Arabs it was, and not by the Latin route, that the modern world received the gift of light and power." Marmaduke Pickthall, the famous translator of the Quran, took a prominent role in leading Eid and Tarawih prayer at the London Prayer House of the Working Muslim Mission and edited the Islamic Review. Mrs. H. Buchanan Hamilton states, "The extreme simplicity, coupled with the extreme sincerity of the worship of Islam by its followers, impressed me with the feeling that this faith occupies the first place in the universe, and on her gravestone it is inscribed that she was a trustee of the Working Muslim Mission." Dr. Leitner, the man who built the Working Mosque with funding from the Begum of Bhopal, states, "Muhammad himself did not make any claim of infallibility. On one occasion, he had a revelation censoring himself severely for having turned away from a beggar in order to speak to an illustrious man of the Commonwealth, and he published this revelation, the very last thing which he would have done had he have been an impostor, as arrogant Christians call the great Arab prophet. These were the names of the headstones I saw at Brookwood. I now have an insight into their thoughts on Islam and why they chose Islam. In short, science, simplicity, sincerity, and the character of the Holy Prophet Muhammad is what drew them to Islam. So we need to ask, are these characteristics no longer found in Islam today? Is Islam a religion of yesteryear? Why are Muslims regressing in their thoughts and actions despite living in an age of technology? Interestingly, Dr. Yonker at the convention summarized the work of Maulana Sadruddin and others who contributed to the mission of the Berlin Mosque at the time as organizers of a think tank, trying to merge Islam with the culture and spiritual needs of the West. In the 21st century, we see a German scholar investigating the work of our Jamaat. However, the past also reveals German, French, Scottish, Polish, and several other prominent personalities who fell in love with Islam or saw it fit to admit to the nature of the faith and its impact on the human soul. Muhammad Alexander Russell Webb from the US remarks, "I adopted this faith of Islam as my guide in life after a protracted study. It was the best and only system adopted to the spiritual needs of humanity." Thomas Carlyle from Scotland, "No emperor with his tiaras was obeyed as this man in a cloak of his own authority. During 23 years of rough actual trial, I find something of a genuine hero necessary for that myself." Edmund Burke, "The Mohammedan law which is binding on all from the crowned herd to the meanest subject is a law interwoven with system of the wisest, the most learned, and the most enlightened jurisprudence that ever existed in the world. Johann Goethe, a German poet, paid great tribute to Islam by saying, "If this is Islam, do we all not live in Islam?" Lord Headley states, "There are thousands of men and women who I believe are at heart Muslims, but convention, fear of adverse comments, and desire to avoid any worry or change conspire to keep them from openly admitting the fact." I relate a short incident in the life of Queen Victoria, taken from anecdotes related by Rosenthal from Drury Lane to Mecca and published in the book Islam in Britain by Dr. Zaki Badawi, pages 6-7. The origin of the report comes from a charming and unusual episode. One summer's day, towards the end of the last century, Queen Victoria noticed 3 figures of strange appearance by the railings of Buckingham Palace. They were 2 men and a woman carrying a child. She was moved to invite them into her presence. They were naturally delighted and excited at being allowed into the palace and having the honour of meeting the Queen herself. The Queen asked who they were and what they were doing. They replied that they were Malays from Cape Town and on their way to Mecca to perform the pilgrimage. The Queen stretched out her arms towards the woman, took the child and kissed it gently and gave it back to the mother. At the end of the audience, the Queen in a gentle and quivering voice said, "Please pray for your Queen at the holy places in Mecca." The 3 Malay visitors left the palace fully convinced that the Queen was a secret Muslim. Later from Mecca, the report spread far and wide throughout the Muslim world. One should not underestimate the work of the Woking mission. It has and will continue to bear fruit long after we have returned to our Maker. It was the inspiration of the Mujaddid of the 14th century that led the work of the mission. Let us never forget that. I conclude with a verse from the Holy Quran. "O you who believe, respond to Allah and His Messenger when He calls you to that which gives you life, and know that Allah comes between a man and his heart, and that to Him you will be gathered." Assalamu alaikum.